What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, John Ken Talks, where we talk about ideas to help improve your life, your money, your career. Today, I figured that an appropriate topic might be this whole Bronny James, LeBron James, nepotism, NBA discussion that's going on right now. And I'm not really going to take a side, but I am going to think if we can tease out some lessons and some ideas that we can use to accelerate our own life, right? So I looked at an article from USA Today that was written in June 2022, which pretty much chronicles the history of nepotism within the NFL, particularly with head coaches, right? And what this article kind of showed me was that, quote unquote, nepotism in sports is really nothing new, right? It really only got a light shined on it when, LeBron James and Bronny, came and, made that move, right? So before I talk about the article, which I will link in the description, let me try to get a good definition of nepotism so we can talk about it. All right. Go to the old Google, right? And looks like this definition is from Oxford Dictionary. Nepotism, the practice among those with power and influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. Right? So by giving them jobs, so that's kind of what people are saying is happening here, right? Bronny is a person who's the son of LeBron James, right? And folks are saying, hey, LeBron James used his power influence to make sure that Bronny got a job, which in this case is being a NBA player. Now let's go back to that USA Today article that I referenced that talks about nepotism in coaching, right? And so the point I want to make here is my first point of the video, which is nepotism is nothing new. It's kind of just the way business is done. I wouldn't even call it nepotism because it sounds like a derogatory term, but it seems like this is just the way business operates, right? So there's a couple coaches that I think if you're a sports fan, but even if you're not a sports fan, you can follow along. There's a couple coaches that are pretty popular that have children, sons in particular, that also have coached with them, for them, or around the NFL. Number one, Mike Shanahan. So those of us that grew up playing Madden, the Broncos between 95 and 2008, their head coach is Mike Shanahan, did a lot of good things. And now today, folks that may not have been around during that era, the Shannon Sharp and all that, Kyle Shanahan, the coach of the 49ers, who's had 2 recent Super Bowl appearances, is a son, right, of Mike Shanahan. Now, he's done a lot of good work in his own right. So we're not saying that, he's just some scrub, right? But he is the son of another head coach. No one's talking about that right now, right? Pete Carroll from the Seahawks. Remember Legion of Boom a couple years ago? They were also in the Super Bowl, had that fateful play where they decided to throw it and not pass or whatnot. He had 2 sons come out of school and coach for him, right? One and look at where they are now, right? Nate Carroll, his son, is a pass game coach for the Panthers right now, NFL team, and Brennan Carroll is an offensive coordinator for the Washington Huskies, NCAA football team. Now, let's go and see what was written about Nate Carroll as he was deciding what to do after college. Excuse me while I pull it up. All right, so Nate Carroll. Let's see. All right, coaching career. Nate Carroll. Unsure of what to do after graduation, the younger Carroll was offered a job by his father to work for the Seattle Seahawks as a personnel assistant in the scouting department for 1 season before being named a defensive assistant in 2021. All right. Also says initially offered a coaching position with Jacksonville Jaguars, my team, by former Seahawks defensive coordinator and newly hired head coach Gus Bradley. So it looks like he almost had 2 job offers. Like one, dad said, hey, come play with me. You don't know what to do. with your life after college, come coach with me. And also, I've got this other guy who used to work for me, who's with the Jaguars, who would also offer you a job. So he had his pick, right? You can't tell me that his relationship with his father, Pete Carroll, did not put him in an advantageous position there, right? But it's lesser known, right? But again, the point is, these things are kind of normal. And I'll give one last example before I move on. Bill Belichick, also, kind of known as the GOAT of NFL coaching, right? Had a dynasty with Tom Brady for almost 20 years. I don't think I knew this before, but Bill Belichick actually has two sons who coached for a couple of years under him at the New England Patriots, right? So one son in particular, I'll point out because it hooks back into what I talked about a minute ago. Stephen Belichick worked for Bill for almost a decade, I want to say, maybe 11 years. You can fact check me on that, but it's not important. But just to point it, for a majority of his adult career, Stephen Belichick was working with his father, and now he has landed as a defensive coordinator for University of Washington, the Huskies. And so I just told you that the younger Carroll also is an offensive coordinator for the Huskies, right? This team is not just any college football team. Again, everybody's probably not a fan. This is one of the best teams in college football right now, right? So they didn't just have to work their way up from some no-name conference and kind of build their way up. They're at one of the top schools, right? I believe Washington was even in the championship last year. If not, they were close to it. So these two sons of head coaches are now the defensive and offensive coordinator for a top college football team, which kind of is like being like number 2, number 3 after the head coach, right? Who makes millions of dollars a year. So they're set. So all that to say, not taking anything away from them. Sure, they're great coaches. That did not just start when LeBron and Bronny, started doing their thing. And I'll give another one of my favorite examples of this. A little controversial, but remember Lonzo Ball and LaMelo and all them in the NBA. LeVar Ball, who was a never lost basketball player. He kind of used his influence, right, to will his son onto the Lakers. Lonzo Ball, right, who now has moved on, and indeed he did get, I think his other two sons are also in the NBA, right? So he kind of willed his sons through his personality, through his influence, through his media appearances, to make sure that his kids were taken care of. Lonzo Ball, I thought, was a great athlete. LaMelo Ball is a star in his own right over in Carolina. I think the other one, Lee Angelo Ball. I don't know if he's in the NBA right now, but I know he at least got a shot, right? But he's playing basketball somewhere. So he's got 3 sons playing basketball professionally. So all that to say, none of these folks are probably the top talent that was available that year, but because of their parents, who their parents were, and the position they had, they were able to kind of raise their profile to a point where they were able to get a shot, whether it's coaching, whether it's being an athlete or whatnot, right? So when we look at LeBron James, right, and Bronny, the only difference I think is that LeBron is such a visible player and an active player, right? Because no one really pays attention to the coaches unless you're like a deep, fan of the sport. Nobody really pays attention to the coaches. So we don't know or care who their sons play for or work for or whatnot. LeBron's an active player. Everybody knows him. He's at the Lakers, which is one of the top, franchises in the NBA. So we're going to notice every move that he makes, right? And then Bronny comes in and had kind of a lackluster college, right? So he's not like the top prospect coming out of college. And so people are like, hey, how did this happen? Now, I will point out, Bronny was a 55th pick, second round, 55th pick, right? So honestly, these picks don't usually pan out in the NBA, right? So it's not like he came in above every other college player. He's a 55th pick, which is kind of average or whatnot. But again, still in the NBA, still something that most people, will never achieve. All right. So it happened. It is what it is. So what can we take away from that, right? Um, I'll say a couple things, right? Number one, it may not be, nepotism is not something that we should strive for, right? We want to be good and have merit on our own right, but we should definitely make sure that we're getting to know some people who are decision makers and people in power, right? So whether that's in your career, whether that's in your extracurricular activities, or just people that you're the average of the five people that right? You want to always be improving that top five, right? Because there may come a time where you need some assistance, right? There's layoff happening all over the place. People can hit financial hard times. You may, I don't know, just need a good vet for your dog, right? You want to know people who are in the right position to help you out, right? That is what community is, right? And you want to constantly be building your personal community, and you want to be that type of person, right? So when people do need a hand up, not a handout, but a hand up, a leg up, you can provide. You say, hey, I'll put in that referral for you. I'll put a good word in. There's nothing wrong with that, right? We're not going to be on LeBron James level, most of us, but the point we can take from these is that each of these folks are just helping the folks that are within arm's length of them, right? So who in your life, career, family, friend circle could provide you a leg up in life if needed, and who could you do that for, and are you placing yourself in position to do that? I think that's the first lesson we can kind of take from there. I think the other thing is that the folks that are in charge call the shots, right? So when you exhibit excellence in a field, then you are given some leeway to call some shots. Not all the shots, right? But who's going to tell Bill Belichick that he can or cannot hire someone on his staff? Because I'm sure his sons are not the only people that he's known and have brought onto his staff. He probably brings along people that trust him, right? That's how coaches, if you look at how coaches move, that's what happens. And those that are not sports fans, if you look at executives at your company, you'll often, and you look them up on LinkedIn and look up their leadership team, chief of staff, whatever on LinkedIn, you often see that they worked together before at a previous company or organization, because people, as they move up, they want to surround themselves with people that they know and that they trust. That doesn't mean they're going to break any laws or any employment regulations, but they really want to make sure that they can trust the people that are in trusted positions around them. So all that to say, exhibit excellence, and that will start to give you yourself some leeway. Maybe not to hire your friends, which we don't want to do, but it will start giving you some leeway to kind of build the team that you'd like to work with, or to you might be able to go to your boss and get funding for the project that you'd really like to see, or you show excellence, and when a colleague or a boss moves on, they might ask you to come join them, right? Because you're exhibiting excellence. And so LeBron James has exhibited that excellence for almost 2 decades. And so you've seen him be able to do some things, whether we agree with it or not, that only he could do, right? Making coaching decisions on the teams he's with, leaving the Cavaliers, coming back to the Cavaliers, bringing other teammates with him, because he's the top dog there. He exhibits excellence. He's able to do that. So if there's an area of your life where you can exhibit that level of excellence and be the best at something, or the best anyone knows at something, then that will also start to give you some privileges like that, right? And the final point I'll make here is something for us all to be aware of, and I had to keep reminding myself, because I have been a Lakers fan, and also a Jaguars fan, right? Kind of got, two sides to that coin. But the thing is, the NBA and NFL, all these sports franchises, these are entertainment businesses first and foremost, right? It's not necessarily a meritocracy. It's not necessarily a place where, test the wills and strength and see who's the best. That probably happens a lot, right? The best team does tend to win, but at the end of the day, they get paid with ticket sales, endorsements, jersey sales, things like that. So sometimes you will see a team that you may like make a decision you don't agree with, from a talent perspective, but they know that having that story of LeBron and Bronny, father and son, on the same team in LA, that's going to be awesome. And they're already right there by Hollywood. They can shoot all the commercials, all the movies and stuff that they want to while they're playing for an NBA for a couple of years. So keep that in mind. Like, some things are just there for our entertainment, and there's plenty of YouTube channels out there that talk about, quote unquote, like conspiracy theories for like NFL and all that. So I don't know if they're true or not, but it's a little suspect, right? But at the end of the day, good storylines make really good revenue for these teams. So that sometimes that's what's happening. But anyway, that's all I want. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where you agree with me in the comments. I just wanted to hop on and talk about this topic for a minute. Again, those who are in charge, they call the shots. Exhibiting excellence, gives you that opportunity more and more to call the shots. And who is in your top 5? And whose top 5 are you in, where you guys can help each other out and build each other up through life? All right, y'all. That's all I got. It's been John Ken Talks, July 6th. See you in the next video. Peace.